What is up? My name is Kevin Corelli. I'm here to talk about VC investments and why it can really suck, and why I don't have any for my company, Simplero.com, and why you should be wary of it. So this whole thing was triggered by a thread that happened on Twitter a couple days ago. So this guy, Ian Crosby, talking about Bench.co, which was an accounting software firm that I actually was a client of 12 years ago or something. He founded the company, and the company was shut down a few days ago. I looked at the website here, Bench.co, and it says literally like December 27, they announced that they're shutting it down pretty much immediately. And so he tells the story a little bit about what happened. Basically, he said, in November 2021, I went out for what I thought would be a regular lunch with one of my board members, and they'd raised Series C, turned down a high lucrative offer, and was building, all that good stuff. And then he said, the board member thanked me for bringing the company to this point, but that they would be hiring a new professional CEO to take the company to the next level. And that phrase in particular was pretty funny to me because I have some experience with this. There's been some internal battles, and then they decided to just kick him out. And this is the thing, right? Getting VCs on board, investing in your company, they basically own it at that point. And they don't have the same interests that you do. And even if they don't own necessarily a majority of the shares, they usually have it set up so that they have control of the board. And so through control of the board, they can kick out the founder. And this happens routinely. And then they will hire a professional CEO that is going to take the company to the next level. And it almost never, ever works out. Sometimes it works, but it's rare. But the thing to remember is that the VCs don't have the same interests that you as the founder does. They don't have the same interests that your team does. They don't have the same interests that your clients and your customers do. So the VCs are essentially operating on their own agenda, doing their own thing, and it's in opposition usually to what everybody else involved wants to do. And I hate freaking this. I despise it because to me, I've seen this ruin so many great products that I used, and it's just a shame because the new management don't care. They just don't care to the same level that the founder is ever going to care. And the team, like the founder created this company from inspiration, from some divine inspiration, and the professional management don't have that. They're there to maximize the return for the investors as best they can, but they don't have that spark of magic. Like you saw it with Apple when he hired John Scully, it went to shit. And then Steve Jobs came back and he completely revived that company. And now Tim Cook has taken over and it's lost its mojo, right? They're making tons of money, but they're not exciting. They've lost the juice that made them interesting, that made them creative. And it's rare that it works out. Apple obviously worked out because Steve Jobs was a very strong founder. Tesla has worked out because Elon is a very strong founder. But you notice how Tesla is the only Elon company that is public because it's much easier to operate privately as this kind of founder. So I worked in the early 2000s for a company called Ars Digita. Ars Digita. Let me see if I can find that here. The company is defunct, but there is a Wikipedia page for it. So it was founded in 1997. I got hired in 1999, and then I was waiting for my visa for a bit. And so I started in earnest in 2000. And I really started right in March 2000 when the big crash in the stock market, like the .com bubble burst essentially. And yeah, it was a really great company, very innovative. The founder, Philip Greenspan, was freaking awesome. He was also scary and all of that. Everybody was like, oh shit, Philip. Oh. I remember one day I came to work and I was sitting next to him, the desk next to him, because that was the open one. I was working remotely, so I was in the office in Boston for the day, and that was where they had some desk space. And then he comes by and he's like, where's my LDAP thing? He wanted an LDAP thing, and I was like struggling big time to try to build that thing for him because I didn't fully understand what it needed to be or why or how. And there was like this enterprise kind of thing. It was very complicated. My brain couldn't wrap my head around it. But what I remember especially was that Philip he was very open with the team and he was very inspirational. He wrote these long articles that were super well written and well articulated and well thought through. And it was such an inspiration. Like I got to work for that company because he wrote about photography. He won Best of the Web in, I believe, 1994 or 97 or something early on. He was a professor at MIT, and he did this web book called Travels with Samantha, where Samantha was his laptop, and he would travel, he'd take pictures, and he would document it. And he wrote this book called Philip and Alex's Guide to Web Publishing, which was published in an entirety online, and I would print that out and read it in my home in Denmark, and learned so much about programming for the web, way more than I learned through 5 years at computer science. I learned so much more from that book and from doing what he prescribed in that book. And it was incredible. And I was also into photography, so I learned a ton. That was how I got to find the book, was through the photography stuff. So anyway, while I was there, he got scared. The company was bootstrapped and it was growing really fast, and it had some really big clients like Levi Strauss and Siemens in Germany. Got a lot of attention because Philip was such a personality and was so well articulated. He was writing very well for the web. It was before blogging was a thing, like early blog type stuff, which David Wiener invented blogging, but before that it was just like publishing articles, which is what Philip did, and he did it very well. So anyway, so at that company, he got scared that in the .com bubble, everybody else, all the big players in that consulting space, I think Viand and Cyand and Vapient or whatever, I forget what they were called back then, they all got VC funding, and he was super scared that he was going to lose out and that was going to hurt his business. So he decided to take $38 million from Greylock Partners, a big VC firm. And he did, and then he recommended to the team that we read a book called The Cisco Connection. Let me see if I can find, I think I pulled that up here. Making the Cisco Connection came out in September 2000, I believe. February 2000 came out, and I read that and I was like, interesting. Because the big point of that story is that the founders of Cisco got kicked out by the VCs. And then lo and behold, not that long after, I think it was like in 2000 at some point in the fall or something, Philip gets kicked out of the company by the investors. And I think it's because they were the .com bubble had burst, and they were looking at a 10x return on their investment, right? They put 38 million, I believe, 36, 38, I think it was $38 million into this company. Now they needed a $380 million return, but the company was a consulting firm. It was doing consulting projects, and they were really good at it because they had this engine that could attract top level engineering talent through Philip's publications. And they had this thing that they called the bootcamp, I think, where they would train people, and they used the problem set from MIT and his name at MIT and all of that stuff to recruit. And they had this open source software that they used on all these projects, and each client project would improve the core open source code base, and then they could use that on the next project. And it was a brilliant model for its time, but it was not a model that would scale. It was a model that would make you a lot of money, free cash flow for a while, but it wasn't a $380 million exit type idea. So the VCs needed this to become a product company, and then they needed to rewrite it from Tickle, which was the programming language we used at the time, to Java, because Java was the hot new thing. And so we rebuilt the whole thing, and it was a complete nightmare. And I remember the CEO that we got that was hired in to replace Philip, who got completely kicked out of his own company, totally against his own will. And the company was so him. It was so weird. But the CEO who came in, he was like, we're going to take this to the next level. And I just remember him talking about taking it to the next level, taking it to the next level, taking it to the next level all the time. And it was just, we're all just like going with it, trying our best to make it work. But it was like, in hindsight, it was super weird. We grew from 60 people to 250 people in just a few months. And it was weird and didn't work out well. And then they ended up selling it to Red Hat, which was another company in the same Greylock portfolio, for about $1 million, which was, I think, less than what they had in cash. So it was really just, all right, this thing is bust. And the reason it was bust was that they fired the fucking founder. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame that they couldn't work it out. Like Ars Digita was a thing because Philip had a strong personality. And so they were like, oh, we can't work with him. We got to kick him out. And then that just destroyed the entire value, the entire magic of it. The aftermath was actually that Philip published these different articles that then got a lot of traction. And then they basically paid him, I believe the rumor has it was like $7 million to shut up. And then he did. And then he got a plane and started flying and doing other stuff. And he was loved and he was hated. And there was like a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is that once you take VC money, it's like a down payment on a root canal. You're going to get that fucking root canal at some point, whether you like it or not. It's just a matter of time. The company is no longer yours. Someone else controls it. That's how that works. There's lots of other companies that come to mind. I was an early client of a company called Zencoder, which was doing video encoding in the cloud. And it was great. We loved it. It was easy to work with. I was interacting directly with the founder, technical founder to technical founder. It was awesome. And then they got bought by a big company called Brightcove, which I believe is publicly traded. And then just everything went to shit. All innovation stopped. They hired a bunch of salespeople. Now they cranked up the prices. They forced everybody onto annual contracts in order to avoid paying through the nose. And eventually we're just like, hey, this is stupid. Let's just write our own encoding infrastructure. And that way we can turn what was a variable cost into a fixed cost. And it worked out so much better. We also got more control. But it's a shame, right? You've got something that's actually an awesome product. It has great potential, but it just gets rolled up. And this happens a lot where companies get acquired by bigger companies. And I don't know, like the person who championed that acquisition moves on to another job at another company or within the same company, but in another part of the company. And then they're there stuck with some company. They don't know what the fuck to do with it. They end up like shutting it down or whatever. Like mint.com is another great example. We've used that to manage our personal finances for a long time. It was a massively innovative product in terms of user experience and everything back when it launched. When did Mint launch? Let's see here. Let me ask ChatGPT. When did mint.com launch? It launched in, I remember it was like, 2007. It was like during those kind of early Web 2 days. It was not quite, I remember the years like 2003, 4 was like, it was so crisp because all the VC money was gone and it was just back to the craftsmanship. And then, but Mint was a little bit later than that. When did they get acquired? So they were bought by Intuit in 2009. So 2 years later, literally 2 years later, they got acquired by Intuit and then nothing happened. Literally nothing happened with that product for 15 years. And then they shut it down and they forced everybody onto another product called Credit Karma, which is another thing that they acquired a while ago. It was originally about monitoring your credit score, but then it became a way to pimp credit cards. But the problem was that Credit Karma doesn't actually do any of what Mint did. So that's another great example of how these VCs turn things to shit. Oh, there's an email client that I use called Sparrow that was super exciting and super interesting, super neat. Got acquired by Google, shut down, just destroyed. SendGrid, which is a service that we still use here at Simplero. I was a very early client there as well for Simplero. So sending emails through SendGrid, I was working directly with the founder, Tim Jenkins, who's technical founder, engineer to engineer founder, and on some of the early tech stuff, especially around UTF-8 characters and things like that. And then they got acquired by Twilio. So this was 2010, I think is when I started. And 2019 was when they were acquired. And then since then, they jacked our prices up from $5,500 a month to $13,000 a month. Just, that's the new price. Sorry, guys, deal with it. I was like, whoa. And then we're like, can we negotiate? So then we negotiated it down to $8,500, I think, on the condition that they do an annual contract. But then they've just been like, they used to have priority customer service and things like that, but that's just gone to shit. No innovation on the product, no innovation in the UI or anything like that. And then right here, this Christmas, on Christmas morning, like right shortly after midnight, they suspended our service so we couldn't send email for all of our clients on Simplero. Actually, it turns out it was a third of our clients' emails that didn't go through. But we were suspended and we couldn't find a person who could turn it back on. It was clearly a mistake. We've been a customer for 15 years, never had an issue. What it was, we have a help ticket system as part of Simplero. Someone had sent a phishing email to the inbound email address, which we then read and process and then create a new support ticket. It made it past our spam filters. And then that got sent out as a support ticket email notification to the owner of the account. And they flagged it as a phishing email, which it was, but the email we sent out didn't have the links in it. And there's no harm. It was like one email to one admin that was clearly a spam email, and they just close it and that's it. But they shut down all of email sending for, like I said, what ended up being a third of our customers. And it took us like 20 hours to get a person who could do something about it. Like the support people were like, sorry, it's Christmas. I can't reach anyone. And they're like, I can just escalate to engineering. They'll look at it whenever they have time. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. They couldn't find freaking one person who could turn our shit back on when the fire was on because it was Christmas. Come the fuck on. We've been customers for 15 years. But this is what happens when VC gets involved and now it becomes about the exit. Twilio is a publicly traded company. They don't give a crap about the product. They don't give a crap about the customers. It's all about just maximizing the return, the monetary return, and nothing else. And you and I, as founders, I know you're a founder, I know you're an entrepreneur, I know you're a creator of some sort since you're watching this. We know that for us, it's not about the fucking money. It's not about the freaking money. It's about creating something. It's about doing something that has value to other people, something that matters, seeing our visions come to life and connecting. Like the business, to me, business is not about money at all. Like, of course, we need to make money so that we can do the things that we do because that's how the world is organized. We need to hire people. We need to hire vendors and agencies, and we need to get services from different places. Yes, we need money, but we don't do any of this for the money. For me, business is an excuse to have intimacy with other people, with my team members, with my clients, to just exchange love and intimacy and connection and just be humans together, have this human experience together, right? We're partners, we're allies, we're best friends, we're just doing cool shit together. That's what business is about. The structure, the system that allows intimacy to happen is like a masculine structure around the feminine intimacy, if you will. That's the beautiful thing about business. That's why we do this. But when the money people come in and they get in control, they don't care about any of that shit. And we see it over and over again. And it pisses me the fuck off because to me, life is about maximizing human creative life force energy. To me, that's the greatest source of joy. What I mean is that we get to get up every day and make something exist that didn't exist before. We imagine it in our heads and then we go make it happen in the real world. You and I get into this shit because we are creative, because we like to make shit happen that didn't happen before. We like to make things exist that didn't exist before. And as much as you can, avoid taking capital. There's a company called FounderPath that offers cash to MRR SaaS companies that can enable growth and that doesn't dilute you. They don't take a stake. They don't do anything. If you don't pay the money back, they're going to come after you. So it's a loan and the interest is high. But that's a way that you can get the cash that you need to grow without giving up equity. Because giving up equity is the most expensive way that you can ever possibly get capital. But there's lots of other ways. Like you can get your customers to pay for your growth by getting them to pay early, incentivizing them to pay you upfront so that you can invest that money in your growth. There's lots of ways to do it. Alex Hormozi is awesome at teaching this kind of stuff. You don't need capital to grow. Whenever I talk to other tech founders and I tell them that I bootstrap this company and I own 100% of it, they're like, oh my God, you are so lucky. I wish that was me. And they might have some of the best top name VCs and there's a lot of like status and I like have Andreessen Horowitz as my partners or Founders Fund or whatever it is, first round capital. I forget what they're all called. I've never been too interested in that whole world. But there's a lot of street cred, of status, like I've got these easies. But the fact is that you're their bitch. You're the fucking bitch now. You are. You just are. That's the reality of it. If you bootstrap, you are 100% in control. You don't owe anyone anything other than your clients and your team, which is exactly how it should be. Everything we do here at Simplero, we do for our clients with our team, and it's all about maximizing the human creative life force for everybody. I want my team to come to work every day and be like, I can't believe I get to do this and I get fucking paid for it. How freaking awesome is that? That's the feeling that I want my team to have every day. I want my clients to have the feeling that they're like, I can't believe that this service exists. How amazing that some people get up every day to build this thing. And I want for me and the team to feel like we can't believe we get to build this thing for these amazing people every day. And that is how we feel, and that's how it can feel when you're only beholden to your clients. One of my mentors taught me success is an optimized daily experience sustainable over time. Success is not about some goal you achieve in the future. It's not about like fame and fortune and all of that stuff. Success is the feeling that you have every day as you get to live the life that you live, do the work that you do. Right? And I do it in a way that's sustainable over time, that sets me up to do even better in the future, right? I'm not burning my candle in both ends. I'm getting stronger and better every single day in every way. That's to me a success. And that's what I want for me as the founder. That's what I want for every member of my team. And that's what I want for every single client. And to me, the purpose of a business is to create feelings of success in clients, in team members, and in the founder. That is the purpose of the business. That's why we do this, to create feelings of success. Success is a feeling that you get to do what you were put on earth to do. And then you get to live an optimized daily experience that's sustainable over time. And so I think one of the core reasons that VCs kick out the founder is there's some reality to it, right? Steve Jobs got kicked out of Apple in the beginning, probably for good reason. His ego is too big. He had to learn a lesson. Like he said in his famous speech, he said it was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. And he grew from it, right? To his credit, he really grew from it. And then when he came back, he was a different person. He had grown. So instead of kicking out the founder, what you can do is you can grow the founder. The kind of businesses that I care about are the kinds of businesses that are driven by a strong founder with a strong vision and with heart, right? With passion, who care. And so rather than kicking out the founder when it's tough, how about growing the founder? That's what I'm all about. That's what this channel is all about. That's what my work is all about. It's like, how do we grow you, the founder? Because that is the most effective way to grow the company. So even if you are VC funded, if you're a VC person watching this, like work with the founder to grow the founder. Don't kick them the fuck out because you're just gonna destroy shit. You think that professional man, no, it doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. They're not invested emotionally in the same way. It's not gonna work. So that's my message here. If you're a founder, don't do VC unless you are very confident and very strong, or you know exactly what game you're playing. Avoid it at all costs if you can. Bootstrapping is fucking awesome. Being completely self-owned is fucking awesome. And then invest in growth. Invest in growth of yourself because you are the lid on your business, but only always. Only always. All right, if this was useful to you, if you're on the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. Tell all your friends. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and hit the bell button. Tell your friends. Share this with someone who needs to hear this. And yeah, that's what I got for you today. I hope you have an awesome day. Be well, my friend.